All right, got a call here. Apparently the gas company found a leak on one of the furnaces or something to that effect. I'm not sure. So the homeowner's gonna meet me here and tell me what's wrong. So let's try to get it fixed. Well, this is a nice attic. Just walk right over to it. Well, that one, the gas is not off. Must be this one, yeah, the bigger one. Yep. I got it turned off, so if I had to guess, probably just one of these joints here. That ain't real cool. Okay, you can see when I move this thing, it's moving that other one over there and moving that one. Now, when they say flex line, they mean it flexes to hook it up. They don't mean it's made to sit there and flex its whole life, so that's not good. We need to anchor this right here. And same thing if you see over there, right where that elbow's wiggling over there. That needs to be anchored as well. They've got it anchored in the middle here to a piece of a 2x4. But that ain't good enough. It needs to be on each end too. Well, anyway, let's see if we see the leak. The gas company was out here. I hate to get this stuff everywhere. But we gotta find it. Kind of ugly looking right there, but don't see any bubbles. Let's look inside the furnace in case it's in there. All right, they do have a coupling inside the furnace. That's not something that everybody does. I don't know that there's actually anything wrong with that, but something you avoid if you can. We'll see if, oh yeah, look at that. That's her right there. Big old bubbles. All right. So there's one growing out of the top too. So what we're gonna have to do here, boy, look at them. Bubbling up a storm. So we're gonna have to take this loose. Looks like we're gonna have to pull the drip leg out of it because this is not gonna spin because of the flue pipe. Well, it's not glued. We may be able to get that out. All right. Anyway, let's see if just tightening that up will fix that leak. We may need to pull this out and redope it and run it back in there. All right. do first, take this drip leg out. I'll tell you what, it is flat out in there behind it. And not going to be easy to pull apart. So the drip leg has to come out, and this other elbow. Come out as well. We are now starting to see why installers always complain about service, or service guys always. So now you're seeing why service techs always complain about installers. They don't think about any of that accessibility or serviceability or any of that when they're installing the furnaces. That's the last thing they care about. So what would have been better here, where they put that in, would have been not to have had an elbow on the top of it, which would have required them extending this nipple to bring the, because they only got 4 foot or 3 foot on their flex connector. So that would have required them running out to the truck or adding another joint or whatever. Like I say, they just don't care. They care about installing it, and that's it. And this was not really tight all the way, so we probably could have just tightened it and got rid of it. But with as much trouble as it is to get this all back together, I wasn't going to do any probablys. Go ahead and make sure we got this resolved. Let that act as a lubricant, an anti-seize, and for those of you that think it's a sealant, it can do that too. But pipe dope from the old school where I come from is mostly an anti-seize agent. And it is a lubricant as well to get it together tight enough to where the threads do seal. But the design behind pipe thread is that you have at least one tapered fitting, and the threads actually tighten into each other and seal. The problem with just letting the threads seal it is it'll seize, and if you ever have to work on it, you really can't work on it. You can't get it apart. So you have to have something on it as an anti-seize, and that is the primary function of the pipe dope. Is a anti-seize agent. Although for the sales propaganda, it'll say on the can, sealant, pipe sealant, blah blah. Especially that old blue stuff. I hate that blue stuff. True blue, whatever you call it. I hate that stuff. Because it will remain on your clothes or your skin forever. So that's why I hate that blue stuff. And it probably has the best sealing function as any other pipe dope on the market, but like I said, I'm old school and the pipe dope ain't to seal it. And that is an argument that has gone on in this industry and in the plumbing industry forever. I'll tell you what, these street 90s that have nothing to grip on the bottom, and then all this piping in the way is really making this aggravating. So I'm not a fan of the street 90 fitting either. But some of these guys that watch the comments, or I watch the comments of some of these guys, and you know, I watch some of you guys' comments that say all you do is, you know, fuss and complain and whine about everything and blah blah. Well, it's not the design and purpose behind the constructive criticism that any of us are speaking about when we're working on something. If you got down off of your superiority complex of way of thinking and just paid attention to others and be open-minded, I mean, I can learn something every day. I can learn something from a 70-year-old man, or I can learn something from a 17-year-old newbie. I don't care who it is. A good point is a good point. And, you know, making this stuff easier to work on and to service is a great point in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. But some of these armchair warriors, or what do you want to call them, keyboard heroes, or whoever it is that, you know, wants to make the comments that don't necessarily offer an idea. They're basically just offering a criticism from a demeaning point of view. I just, you know, ain't got no time for that. Don't pay it much attention. Half of them I delete. And if they're, you know, offering constructive criticism, then absolutely I want to hear it, because I may learn something from you, and I don't care who you are. But so nonetheless, the point of any of this complaining that you may want to call it that I'm doing here, I'm not complaining, I'm just pointing out things that we could all do to improve our trade. And if you're not interested in that, and you're just interested in your superiority complex, well, good luck to you. A little humility goes a long way in life. And if you haven't learned that yet, then I truly feel sympathy for you. All right, so we're going to cut this gas back on. We're going to soap the joint that we originally had the leak on, that we were concerned with originally, and we're also going to check the two that we had to affect. You know, we had to take these apart on this Street 90 right there that I don't like. I'm going to look at those. Now this one right here, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes and soap it again. Pretty much everybody knows what kind of pressure the gas is on, and it's not a lot, but to calculate your manometer reading down to PSI, this operates at about 1/4 of 1 PSI, so there's not much to it. But we're going to let it sit there under its normal pressure for a minute, and then we're going to soap all these joints, at least the ones that we affected, and anything else that we're suspicious of. May have to put 2 hands on that. Probably okay now. It wasn't overly tight, so we probably could have got away with just running another turn and then put it back together, but we just took the safe way. Okay, now I'm also going to see if I can find a piece of dead wood. I don't have any 2x4s with me, and what I mean by dead wood is like this. This is a piece of extra just hanging off. That's not thick enough, or I would cut it off and use it. I'm gonna look around and see if I can see a 2x4 anywhere. It's got a little spare piece on it. I can clamp down to that floor right there with some screws. All right, I had to climb a little bit, but I found a couple of pieces. I'm not a framer, but I think what they actually call those temporary pieces, whatever you want to call them, is like wind bracing. So that when they're installing the trusses, the wind kind of doesn't mess with them too bad. And oops, split it right there. These little impacts are handy, but end up causing yourself problems with them sometimes if you're not careful. And all I had was some of these. It's not really what I wanted. I really would have rather had some 2-hole metal clamps, but that's definitely much better than nothing. Okay, let's go do the other one. I found a long enough piece that I could cut one off for this too. So somebody that's better with wood would probably do a better job. Say, I'm not a framer and I'm a metal guy. But I'll do in a rush. I definitely feel better about that now. That's not great right there. But at least now when they're in and out doing their storage stuff and whatever else they do, they won't be wobbling those flex lines any more than they have to. And it can't be any good for the joints, the actual pipe joints. You know, that great big, that's probably 5 foot right there, and that's probably 6 or 8 foot right there. So it can weaken the threads. All right, let's get out of here. Okay, so the homeowner had noticed that before, and you know, he just thought, you know, I think he said something like, I thought that was a little shaky, but anyway, so he was definitely glad that we fixed that while we were there. And I showed him where I cut a piece of dead wood off. I call it dead wood, like wind bracing or whatever you want to call it. They use the scraps usually, so you can kind of tell there's nothing really precision cut about it, and it's some of it's kind of halfway nailed, some of it's got one nail, whatever. So showed him what I did. He was really appreciative of it, and I just didn't want the gas line I worked on to be a problem later. So anyway, it was a simple gas leak with a little bit more to it, but we got it fixed up. We were probably there for, I don't know, I'd say an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. So we should be good to go there. Yep, we got AC calls in the afternoon, heat calls in the morning. It's that weird time of year. Let's go to the next one. Thanks for watching.